Well, good morning. This is Mr. Z, and today we're going to continue talking about the geography of North Carolina, and we're going to use my hometown of Weldon, North Carolina, as an example to help us learn. Many small towns in our country, and especially here in the South and our state of North Carolina, were built near rivers. And why do you think that was? Well, there's several reasons. Rivers were primarily used for transportation. Obviously, when our country first started, we didn't have planes and trains and automobiles and all things like that. So the river was the best and fastest means of transportation. Rivers also were used to generate power. You've heard of the term hydroelectric power. They used the river could generate electricity. It could also just be used to turn the machines to generate power. The picture you see here is an old mill where they used to make towels and sheets and things like that. Now it has been restored since this picture was taken. But a lot of mills such as this were built right near the river because they could use the power from it, and then they could send the goods right on the ship and send them to other locations. Nowadays, the river is not used primarily for transportation like it used to be in the past. It's mostly used for fishing and canoeing. Our town has been designated as the rockfish capital of the world, so we have a lot of tourists that come down here to fish and also to do outdoors activities like canoeing. So we do get a lot of tourists down here. The old mill that you saw in the last slide has been restored, and there are businesses that are opened. So it's not used as a mill anymore to produce goods, but it does have some stores, and at one time it had a dance studio as well. Starting in the early to mid 1800s, railroads became very important. They allowed the goods and people to travel a lot faster than they could on boats. So in small towns such as North Carolina, having the railroad go through was very important to the economy. And just a historical note, at one time the Weldon and Wilmington Railroad, or sometimes it's called the Wilmington and Weldon Railroad, was the longest railroad in our country at that time. It also played a very, very important role. The railroad and Weldon, North Carolina, played a very important role in the Civil War, and I'm sure we'll learn more about that later on in the year. In the present day here in Weldon, we still have lots of freight trains and even some passenger trains that come through town, but we no longer have a stop here for the trains. The building that you see in this picture used to be the train station, where people would wait to get on the train and where goods were loaded and unloaded. It currently now serves as our public library. In the picture you see here, you've seen before. This is part of the downtown Weldon Business District, and back in the day when we had a lot of mills open here and the railroad was open and had stops here, Weldon had a very active business district. There were a lot of stores, a lot of people shopped here. It was an important place. Today that's not the case. There's only a few businesses here, and there's a lot of like thrift stores and antique stores and things like that. Alright, so just to review, geography does play a role in where towns were formed. Obviously, a lot of towns were often located near rivers because that was an important way for people to get around. It was the main way that people and goods were transported. And today, most of these towns, such as Weldon, no longer have those same types of businesses. Most of the mills have been closed. Those jobs are now done in other parts of the country or in other countries. And these towns have needed to adapt to other things in order to survive. So I hope this helps you understand a little bit about geography and why towns were built where they were built.